Stop playing with me, boy. That's how we do it. Get your popcorn ready podcast here with your host, Hatchet, my boy.
Yeah, I'm the other host, the handsome one. T.O. is in the building, and we have a special guest in the building.
Yogi Roth is in the building, ladies and gentlemen. My man. What's up, buddy?
That's your man?
That's my man. That's my guy. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for this man right
I want
here.
to call him Yogi Bear. That's what
We can call him?
Yeah.
Hey,
I want to know
before.
I'm about to say, that's not original.
Yeah,
but is Yogi a Yogi?
Yeah, I didn't have a choice. That's like my birth name. So when I was a kid, obviously, when I was born, my parents gave every kid a Hebrew name or a Hindu name.
Okay.
One was your first, one was your middle. So my middle name is Zohar, which is Hebrew for brightness. And Yogi is like if you're a yoga, you practice union. It's basically what the word means. And I fought yoga forever.
Forever?
And then I broke my neck playing. Wow. And I remember the doctor saying, you'll never run, you'll never surf again.
Wow.
I was like, that's a lie. And then I found hot yoga, and I've been doing it for 20 years.
So how did you break your neck?
Caught a pass against South Florida. Caught a pass. Body went this way. I went the other way.
Mm-hmm.
In came your buddy Rob Butler. Remember Rob? You know
Yeah,
Rob
yeah,
Butler, right?
yeah. Wow.
We were on the same team back in the day. He played for the Chargers for a little while. And he came in, and I was a walk-on at the time. And I'll never forget, I was on the sideline, and I was like, if I don't go back in, I'm never going to get a scholarship. I couldn't feel anything, and I was like, just go back in.
Right.
And played next couple years.
With a broken neck.
And then when I was coaching out at SC, I did a lat pull down one day, and I lost all feeling in all my extremities.
Wow.
And I went to the trainer. I was like, I don't know what's up. And they MRI, and they were like, dude, your brainstem and your C4 and 5 are not supposed to touch. You know? So
This is years
like
later.
A week later, yeah. I was like first or second year coaching at SC, which I went to right after I got done playing.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow,
Talk
that
about
is
went through
great.
So
something.
yoga helped me, man. The name,
It comes back.
So everybody, there's your answer.
There we go.
Is a yogi.
It's Zohar. Zohar.
Yeah.
Zohar. That should be my name because I'm full of brightness.
You are.
No, he's
Brightness.
not. Yogi, no, he's not.
Brightness.
That's why you got to wear the shades all the time, right? Like, yeah.
Don't even play into that, dog. Don't even play into that.
Yo.
And did you pay him to say that?
No, he got the script.
He got the script. Yeah,
He
there you
has
go.
the
He got
script.
Well, talking about scripts, right? Again, Yogi, 5-star QB, the author of this, along with our boy Joey Roberts. Shout out to Joey as well. Again, fourth-time author. Thought you were the first, but again, this is your fourth book, 5-star QB. So how did this come about?
Yeah, well, you're around Elite 11 all the time, right? Yep. So for those that don't know, think of American Idol for high school quarterbacks.
Yep.
Right? The staff goes all over the country. We look at the best guys, and then you invite the top 20 or so to LA.
Yep.
And what we noticed, and this is, I think, my 15th or 16th year doing Elite 11, and 3 years ago, Joey and I sat down and we're like, the parents keep asking the same questions.
Yep.
Players keep asking the same questions. And the one thing you can't do is Google the answer to how to be a 5-star quarterback recruit, how to be a walk-on recruit, let alone how to be the parents of those recruits.
Right.
So we said, what can we do? How can we show up? Well, let's write a book.
Yeah.
Let's do a documentary series. So, me, the filmmaker at the time, I was like, let's make a movie. Well, you need a lot of money to make a movie.
Yeah.
And we were like, well, you don't need any money to write a book. You just need like the time. So we said, let's write a book and start there. So we started to do it. And I started to write down what the chapters would be, anything that a quarterback recruit would go through, how to go on a visit, how to go to summer camp, how to deal with NIL, how to deal with mental health, how to deal with women on campus, how to deal with what's going on in between your ears, how to deal with transferring twice, whatever it was, let's give them advice.
Yes.
So I started writing. And then we were like, well, let's hear from the people that have done it. So we went through every 5-star quarterback in the history of recruiting. There was 134 of them at the time that we published the book.
Wow.
And we hit every one of them up. Said, can you give advice to the next generations? And pretty much everybody said, yeah.
Right. How responsive were those 134 guys? Like, who said no? Like, who would want to say no?
Was there any hesitancy?
Yeah, for sure.
Some?
There's 3 groups. One was like, yes, we're in. Everybody that's on the cover, back and front cover of that book said yes. 54 guys said yeah.
Okay.
Didn't flinch. Then there was the group that we couldn't get a hold of. So that's kind of like my generation. Like I was trying to get a hold of like Jeff Smoker, Matt Lavecchio, like guys from back in the day. And you're just pinging them on LinkedIn, like just finding a way.
Yeah.
And then there's the middle group that was like, wow, this is cool. Let me think about it. And then it was, I don't want to go there. I can't go there yet. The pain is too much. Because what happens is you get labeled. Like you guys, you didn't go to USC, so nobody thought either one of you were going to be the best player in the world at 15.
So they want to be labeled a bust.
They are. Every one of those guys are pretty much labeled a bust. if you look at the definition.
The definition of
Only one player out of the 134 quarterbacks that have been named a 5-star quarterback in recruiting has won a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback.
Wow.
And it was Matthew Stafford, year 13, team 2.
Right. And nobody thought that was going to happen.
And that
until
was
he
just a
went
couple
to-
years ago.
Yeah.
With the Los Angeles Rams.
And the definition of a 5-star recruit per all of these recruiting sites is a franchise-changing quarterback, a franchise-changing player. I mean, only 12 have been drafted in the top 10.
Okay, so
Like they're all ballers.
so
So these
deep.
guys get there with this expectation on them,
yeah.
and it's hard. So we said we got to give you tools and advice.
Yes.
So we interviewed them. 54 players said, "Here you go." And then Joey and I looked at each other and said, well, "We got to keep asking." So we asked about 50 coaches: Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, Lincoln Riley, Dan Lanning, Ryan Day, John Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks, Mike Gervais, the sports psychologist, Brenda Tracy, who speaks about, she was gang raped on the
domestic
college campus.
violence stuff, yeah.
Yeah, we talked to parents like CJ Stroud's mom, Kimberly, and Bryce Young's father, Craig, and Christian McCaffrey's mom, Lisa. Like, we just try to literally look under every stone and say,
right.
how do we help?
Yeah.
And
Right.
600 pages later, we got that book.
That's awesome.
Man,
Because again,
this is
I
good.
can't stress enough to the kids about the stars and the ratings and the rankings and the on this. It's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is the work. So again, knowing this type of information now, if you had a 14 to 15-year-old in high school and he wants to be a 5-star quarterback, is it okay to say you don't want to be a 5-star quarterback if you want to go to the NFL?
Yeah, I think I've got a ton of empathy for players and parents now. 5 years ago, I would have said exactly that. Now, when you get that 5th star, what happens to you? Your NIL valuation grows. Your social media following grows. If you look on college campuses, the players that have the biggest following are usually the guys that committed to multiple schools.
Because they got those fan bases when they
worked
committed.
the system, right? They didn't commit early. They
Right.
worked the system, and that probably now will equate to more money in NIL. But is it generational changing money?
No.
Is
That
it
money's
life
gonna be
changing?
gone.
Maybe, depending
For the
what
moment.
your life is like.
Right, for the moment.
But I would urge them to say, okay, I want you to define, and this is what we ask at Elite 11, day one, we say, what's your intention here? Win the MVP, to be the man, to get a life-changing experience, to get tools for your life, and then pay attention to it. So if your intention is to make the most money on NIL, okay,
Yeah.
market the daylights out of yourself, put 5-star QB in your header.
Right.
If your intention is to maximize your potential, okay, let's sit down and have a different conversation. And then how legit are you committed to that? And that is hard at 15.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
And
then
how
you go
do
to parents.
Right. So how do you change, like you said, at 15, that teenager, how do you change that mindset of a kid that obviously, like I said, now, like, popularity, likes, social media status, that's everything for a kid. And like you said, the evaluation, we're talking about NIL money, like now they're already putting out NIL evaluation for some of
Millions.
these kids. Right? I mean, look at Bronny James. His evaluation is $7.2 million.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And they go, and the list goes on. So how do you, like I said, change that mindset for a kid to know that, okay, you may be popular in this area, but this is where you really need to be popular, which is on the field.
Yeah.
How does that translate?
I remember where I was against Green Bay when you caught that pass in the slot, but you got to have somebody throw it to you, right?
Absolutely.
And so I go to like community and family really specifically. So I often now, since this book came out, I talk to a lot of parents. Instead of being a hater on the system, I got insane empathy. Parents are looking down the road. I'm a parent of like, what's best for my son in a couple years?
Yep.
Well, what are you ignoring? How they're doing today. So I talked to a family and they said, we want our kid to transfer. I said, okay, I've heard this story 1,000 times. Tell me why. Well, we want to get him to the best college. We think he's got the it factor. We think he can go to the NFL. He's got all the tools. Okay, cool. See how many times have we seen that? Every kid in history of recruiting would say that. It's okay. Is he happy? Yes. How are his grades? Straight A's. What is his friend circle like? Great. Is he into drugs? Not at all. Does he like his coaches? Yeah. Is there a faction in the locker room? No, it's actually pretty healthy, even though he's not the starter. But there's a guy ahead of him that is actually pretty good. Okay, well then just pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Because number one, if you want to eliminate him from any competitive setting and environment, that is a detriment to him.
To being a player.
Number two, the way that college football works now is the minute you think you're the guy, they're going to bring another transfer in to compete with you or take your job. And then as you two know, when you get to the NFL, it's even more of
Every
a competitive
day, all
premium.
day. Right.
So I'm telling parents, like, don't rob your children of moments where they get to understand compassion and competition in the same vein. Compassion for the guy they're competing with, understanding competition with the guy they're competing with. So I say, I start there of like, can you compete to connect to the present moment? And that is not easy. So you have to be reminded of it all the time. This post didn't do great. Hey man, don't worry about it. What are you doing in the present moment? Right? I don't have all the offers. Okay, cool. What was the workout like yesterday?
There you go.
All of those things come back to the only thing we really control. And when you think about your best moments, whether you were in the Jets or you were at the Niners or wherever you're playing, you are in this state of flow and you're truly connected to the moment, to the route, to the ball, everything in slow motion. We can train that. That's positive psychology. We can train that side of an athlete, but the people around him have to be aware of it. And I think it's hard when you're like their uncle or their father or their coach or their mom, where you're like, I'm looking out for their best interest in the future.
What about
that will take
now?
care of itself if you're good.
Yes.
Right, but how do you suppress the expectations that they may have, starter, senior, whoever may be in front of them? But again, they have this 5-star, credential. They feel like, okay, I can come in right away. So how do you suppress the expectation, especially of parents? And I think it's a two-way street too, because there's realistic expectations and there's some unrealistic expectations.
Yeah, it's a good question. So Chris Peterson, who's one of my close friends and guys I admire most in football, former coach at Washington and Boise State, walked away from the game, wasn't happy, right? He would always say to every recruit, however you think it's going to go, the only guarantee I can tell you is that it's not going to go that way.
Wow.
It might be better, it might be worse.
Wow.
Whatever, it's just not going to go exactly like you think. So let's just accept that. With the parents, and I do this at the Elite 11 now, is I just tell them the facts. 134 quarterbacks. Over 52% of them transferred once. Another 20% transferred twice. The likelihood of your son starting at his first school, the facts over 20 years would say, not that great.
Not happening.
Not that great. When you just look at the ranking in and of itself, every year, my favorite graphic is in the Super Bowl, Too Deep. What are their high school rankings? What were your high school rankings?
Right.
You guys probably weren't even ranked.
Zero stars.
Zero
Not
stars.
on the board.
Point being, two of the greats, right? Look at Jerry Wright and 0 star. Like, you can kind of just paint a picture to them. That's the first thing I would do is let's just look at reality. Because the parents that I hear from a lot, they'd be like, I hear you, I agree with you, but hey, can you help me out, get my kid another
they go
star?
right back to the...
It'll help him out, it'll boost his recruiting. And I'm like, for what? The coach doesn't care.
Right.
Coach could care less. You care for a bunch of reasons, and now you have empathy around those reasons. That's the first thing. Second thing, we went deep in the book, and we call it the wonder switch, where when you walk out to a stadium, pick any stadium in the world, and imagine being 15, 16, 18 on your visit, or even playing, you walk out to the Coliseum here in LA, and you are like, whoa.
Big deal.
Wonderment. And then your imagination goes, I see myself making plays, see myself winning championships. Well, at a point in time when recruiting, which was fun, became a business, and NIL, which was fun, then became a business. Playing, which was fun, became a business.
Yeah.
And that wonder switch, we say, gets turned off. And it's often by others. In your social media, you suck, you're not as good as your ranking. By your coach, by a fan heckling you, whatever it may be. And all of a sudden, you're playing with zero joy. And that's why I go back to Are You Happy as just the song on repeat for these players. Because they're not going to be. I go into these locker rooms all the time and I say, how many of your wonder switches have been turned off?
And everybody.
95% of locker rooms in the Pac-12 footprint, which is the one I talk to most, say, it's been off. Okay, well, how do you turn it back on? You control it. Again, what's your intention? What do you love? What makes you tick? And I think those are the things that are hyper-specific. Take another level. Look at the best quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. What were their rankings in high school?
Not high.
Drew Brees, Tom Brady. I mean, other than the Mannings.
Right, of course. A lot of them were JUCO
Right.
guys. Aaron Rodgers, right? JUCO,
Totally.
right? It's like
All the
that's
guys
part
you
of
think,
it.
Kirk, just go down the list. Jared Goff, 3-star. Kirk Cousins, 3-star. Like, you can go on the list of every starter.
Well, let me ask you this again. I'm not bashing the parents here. I just want them to understand the dynamic of what we're talking about, right? Do you think that parents kill the kids' dreams more than the kid themselves?
No, I don't. I think that the parents may not ask the kid what their dream is, to be honest. Like, I was just talking to somebody out in the hallway, and they were like, I don't know if my relative loved the game. You know, and I really believe that. Like, way back in the day when I was at SC, I did this video called Do You Love It? we play for the team for the training camp. And the whole concept was like, if you love something, you'll do anything to protect it.
Anything.
And at some point, I believe that football players, you have this, we all had, I've hated football before too, whether it's a player, a coach, or a broadcaster, like you have this unique relationship with it. And I think that sometimes parents can want it a little bit more. And what we've learned in a lot of our research is that if you ask players who would they rather talk to after a game, they'd say mom. Because often dad is associated with performance and mom is associated with safety.
Yeah.
It's
You
a
okay,
general
baby?
statement.
It's okay, right? You had a good time.
But there's some facts around that when we've talked to players around it. And that's why we dedicated a whole chapter to parenting. And it was fascinating to hear what players said about like the pressure their father oftentimes put on them to commit to the bigger school or to whatever it may be around the position. And they didn't have a lot of joy around it. And all the guys, their wonder switch or their joy around it, it will get turned off because recruiting, when your first offer comes, it's the greatest dream of all time achieved.
Right.
And then by your 35th, you're like, dude, will you stop calling?
Stop calling me.
DMing me. So again, I go back to the team, like who's managing it? Who's helping you? Because it is hard as hell to navigate this space alone.
Yeah.
And I look at like Caleb Williams, he's got a community around him.
He's at the right community.
Parents, now he's got the professional agents and management. Like, they're making sure he still loves playing.
Yeah.
And he does, man. I was at practice this week. He loves going out to practice.
Right.
Yeah.
And some guys, when you get all that pressure on you, it's like,
It's a job already, and it's too early
you're
of a
not cutting
job.
it loose.
A lot of these parents, they have more love and passion for sport than the kid does sometimes. And if there's no communication, then that's when things get lost.
Yep.
Because sometimes, like a kid, like I said, they may be doing it just for the parents.
Just for dad, just for
Just
mom.
for mom or just for dad. Most of the times, sure, just for dad.
Yeah, it's so hard. What we learned in the book was parents really don't know how to navigate this unless they've had like
It makes some
another child.
Another
Or
kid.
experienced it themselves.
Exactly. So I think for like, to answer that question, Chip Kelly, I'll steal this line from him. He's like, how many people can we get? Same message, different messenger. How many people can we get around your kid,
To
this
give you that
locker room?
same message.
I mean, look at Elite 11 when you're there. Like, you're working with the wideouts, but you're mentoring the quarterbacks just as much, and vice versa, because sometimes you just need a different voice, and now you've got a community that sticks with you. Like, the thing I'm most proud of at the Elite 11 is not finding the Sam Darnold diamonds in the rough that nobody's offered or watching Trevor Lawrence flourish on the stage of the Elite 11 finals. It's 6, 8, 10 years later when they're like, hey, I'm done. Hey, I just got this job. Hey, I'm thinking about asking my lady to get married. Like those things, or like, hey, I haven't left my basement because I thought I'd get picked up as an undrafted free agent and I didn't, and I'm really embarrassed. Like the mentorship, the guidance is everything. And that's why even the cover has their faces, because I believe that when you sign as a football player to a big school, immediately what do? You go to their huddle highlight film.
Of course.
You go to YouTube. Check out their social media, and you go to their ranking, and now you check out their NIL valuation.
Right.
You don't see the heartbeat. And I know it's cliche of like, they're humans. Like I heard your podcast with Joy Taylor, you talked about we're all human beings, and I love that thing. And it's true. And I was like, most fans of these schools don't even know what half of these guys look like.
Facts.
It's just the truth. And
How
you
many
put on your
pages are
armor.
in here?
It's over 600
He can't read.
pages-ish.
Don't even
600.
worry about that.
Yeah.
Well, we just got to split this book in half.
Yeah.
He gets 300, I get 300 because you only brought one book.
Yeah. Well, I figured it'd be like in the
Yo.
set. You know, you can put it behind you. You know,
I
looking
mean,
good.
you know.
Sharing's caring.
Yeah. There you go. Exactly.
And again, I don't think an 18-year-old is ready to be treated like a robot.
Not even close.
Like, how do you think those conversations start to differ when the parents understand what you're talking about and when they don't understand what you're talking about?
Yeah, when I was interviewing one of the head coaches in the book, I said, "Hey, I talked to a parent the other day, and they were like, thanks, but we don't need the advice." And he goes, "Those are exactly the parents that need
the advice. Need the advice. The ones that think they know everything.
It's extremely hard, I think, to help a child navigate this, even if you've been through it, and definitely if you haven't.
Right.
And that's why I just keep leaning back on like tribe, community, ask questions, and then you hit them with facts. So think of your rookie year. I remember talking to a bunch of rookie quarterbacks about this. They said it was the hardest year of their life in football because season ended, went right to draft prep, right to
Mini
Senior
camp,
Bowl,
yeah,
whatever.
all
You
that,
get
yep.
you go through the whole media run, then you go to OTAs, and then you're in training camp. And then it's the longest season of your life.
Yes.
And by like week 10, you're just
Spinning.
yeah, like no, I wouldn't be surprised if you had to do the stats around like who has mono the most. Like it'd be rookies in NFL or professional sports because you just don't stop. And I say that for these high school kids they're the man. Let's just take Josh Rosen, for example. 14 years old, he was dubbed the best player in America. You remember that?
Yep.
And he came and he looked like the best player in America.
Yep.
Then he went to UCLA, was the best freshman in America, and just never stopped until he got injured. And I remember talking to him at practice, and he was like, thank God I just got to take a breath. Like it was the best thing for me.
The injury was the best thing for
So
him.
I tell parents, answer your question, like your son sitting for a year or not being QB1, RB1, wideout one, whatever, is going to be great because they got to go to school still.
Yeah.
They're going to be on their own for the first time. They have to figure out how to do laundry. They're going to like be around like the Greek system. They're going to be on college is awesome. Like it's a whole different planet. To think they can handle it all, you'd be crazy.
Yeah, to your point too, just thinking of what you just mentioned, just taking a breath, a breather. I think that's the same approach too for parents to ask me about like, should my kid play two sports? Should he play football or should I just concentrate? I think they should play a little bit of everything. And I encourage parents like, yo, if playing basketball or whatever, go play run track.
Because you're giving yourself a break from your original sport.
Right, exactly. And you're exercising and you're activating different muscle groups too. You're not just constantly just being redundant, doing the same old. And over time, something's going to have to give.
John Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks, wrote about that. It's one of the last chapters of the book around like evaluations. Like, what do we really look at? It's a fascinating chapter. All those, we called them ambassadors of the game. It was their penmanship towards the parents of the players. Of like, let me give you some advice. And John talked about it, Coach Carroll talked about it in the forward of, you need to play other stuff because we want to see you in competitive settings. If you've got the tools, you can manufacture what a quarterback looks like.
Right.
Drops well, sees it well.
Throws it.
Yeah, you could play in an average league in high school.
Right.
Like, you could be good. And that's why
Right,
most of
he
these guys
can
don't make it.
manufacture being a quarterback, but the reality is it's not going to happen.
And like, I always go to, I think when I watch Hatch coach receivers, they're not just running routes all day long. Like they're working the craft. And I think now with youth sports, it's like, how many 7-on-7 games can we get in a weekend?
Right.
How many soccer games can we get in a weekend? How many hoop AAU games can we get in a weekend? And it's like, how many times can we just practice?
Right.
Yeah,
Top
you
of
get
a route.
training.
Yeah, you can compete.
Catching
Training.
1,000 tennis ball, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think the skill development is something that sometimes has gotten lost. Thus, when athletes get to the next level and they can't just run by dudes, like I see Larry. I imagine Larry Fitz right now as a freshman in Pitt. He could not run or drop his hips like any of the guys on the roster.
Right.
But he could catch.
high
He could
point
catch
the ball,
everything. He
right.
could high point. He could adjust. And over time, he got with the strength staff. All of a sudden, his hips loosened up.
Yep.
He got with the wideout coach. All of a sudden, he could drop his hits, break out of routes. Like, and sophomore year, you saw the best player in the country.
Yep.
And I just never forget watching him work those crafts. And I think that is something that can get lost, especially at the quarterback position, because I want to go out and show my hose as often as possible. Versus, what if here's like the last thing on it. If you asked high performance psychologist Dr. Michael Gervais, who you may have already had him on the show.
No, we want to have him.
You need to have him
for
on.
Sure.
He wrote a chapter in the book, and he talks about how you can train three things. And you guys know this. You can train your body, right? Abs. Everybody's seen you do that infamously, right? You can train your craft, wide receiver, quarterback play, and you can train your mind. And how much time are we putting into it? What I love most now is getting around the next generation of quarterbacks and asking them about that question. And they're like, I'm already seeing a high-performance psychologist. I'm already studying positive psychology. Because it's in front of you and on your smartphone.
Yes.
And on the internet. You can get all of these tools. And I love that. And that's the thing I really would tell parents is, what are you front-loading? I tell it to college coaches all the time. I say, when your recruit comes in, please tell me you don't talk about NIL first, playing time second, NFL third, and school fourth. Tell him that right down the hall we have 9 licensed professional therapists and the door is open. Day one, we're here to help you. And when you need it, when it gets beyond just a little performance anxiety, which everyone will have, when it gets to something serious, the door is open.
Right.
You're not going to, your playing time won't get impacted. Your scholarship won't get impacted.
Right.
That is to me like the conversation that needs to be had today.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things, there's not many cool things on like Instagram, I don't think. But one of the coolest things is the throwback videos from elite performers. And they talk about, dribbling 2 balls at midnight, right? I remember talking to Jurgen Klinsmann, who was like the Michael Jordan of German soccer. He was the U.S. national team coach a couple years ago. And he would say that a lot of soccer players were playing all these AAU games, all these games every weekend, but he was in his small town growing up, and he was just kicking the ball against the garage, getting so used to the spin of the ball. Like, think of all those things at night. All 3 of us, I'm sure, were throwing it to ourselves in bed. Pitch black,
catching the
just
ball,
catching it, getting to know a relationship with this ball. Like, I think that is something that we have to keep pouring into. And I love that some of the older folks, like our generation, whether it's a Kobe video or whatever, it's like teaching about that. I call it the lonely work. Are you willing to do boring things longer? Not than anybody else, just longer.
Right, mundane, monotonous. You heard Kobe, do some of those things. Like, he would be in the gym and he would do the same move like 1,000 times before he went to the. He would do a jab on the left like 1,000 times. Then he go to the right. You know what I mean? Do pump fakes. You know what I mean? Reverse pivots, all those types of things. And just to touch on something that you said, that you mentioned about John Schneider, about the competition. I think, and that's their motto.
Yeah, you're up there.
Yeah, it was compete. You know what I mean?
Compete.
He's always competing. But I think that's what helped me grow as a football player, because I was competitive. I wasn't the most athletic. I didn't have the most talent. That's evident based on where I was drafted. Like I said, there's a lot of good athletes in the world. There's only a handful of great ones in every sport. Why is that?
I couldn't agree more.
The way I answer that now, I didn't answer this like 5 years ago, but the studying I've done in my head, right?
You live it.
Is like the average Division I athlete. Let's take a receiver nowadays, right? An outside receiver is going to be 6'2", 190, running a 4.5 40 in high school. Like, that's what you need to be to get to D1.
Yeah, your standard
right?
measurables.
Those are the dudes. Those would be 5-4-star guys.
Yep.
But when you look on an NFL roster, it's the people who are not in that box.
100%.
That's where they're that's what I don't think the people understand. You don't want to be in the box, but you have to do this to get in the box. No, you just have to be great at what you do.
Right, because I think a lot of these kids, like you have to compete. You are past the eye test.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You're already in the door.
Right, exactly. You can go out there and run routes. You can do that in your sleep all day. But what happens when you have someone in front of you? You know what I mean?
Right.
When you compete, are you going to look as flawless?
Yeah. So I think what happens now, especially in recruiting, is let's just take you guys and let's just imagine you're huge recruits. And let's just imagine you went to a school here in LA. Okay, you're the man. You're both 5-star guys, and everybody loves you externally. Then you sign your letter of intent. You start spring football. Let's just say you're a mid-year enrollee at USC and UCLA, respectively. But you go in the facility and you don't know the playbook. You're swimming a little bit. The ball's coming a little too hot than you're regularly anticipating, and class is hard because it's brand new for you. And everybody knows it because they see it on the screen every day. And you're not running with the ones. You're not running with twos. In fact, you're running with the threes. Then you walk outside and all your boys, your whole community is like, yo, T.O., Hatch, how's it go? You're killing it, right? Then the season comes around and you're buried and you're working scout team. But you come outside and all your boys are saying, you're getting screwed, man. They're screwing. You should bail. You don't have that NL money like so-and-so. Get out. And I believe that pull clearly is not allowing any athlete to maximize their potential. So that's why I think I go back to the community of like,
man.
What are mom and dad, are they telling you the hard shit? Like, are you accepting and embracing that your coaches, every coach I've met wants the players to play great.
Yeah, we want all you to play great.
We don't want you to be on scout team. We want you to be the man.
Right.
We want you to live up to every one of your own expectations, let alone others. And I think for athletes, embracing that and being like, okay. And I say this is where the only time I chirp back on social media is when I see the quarterback proving all the haters wrong. And I always just get in his mentions and I'll say, just prove yourself right. Because you're wasting energy. I did that as a player. I was proving everybody wrong. I was a walk-on, got a scholarship, fighting every day and never had fun.
Right.
And I think there's something to being driven by other people. But once you get past that, you can hit a whole new plateau, a whole new planet when you're like, I am driven by me. You don't even know what's inside of me and what got me.
Right.
Now, when you start to say, become the person that you want to become, right? And you have everybody saying that you're good. I don't necessarily think that's helpful neither. I'd rather see a lot more guys fail than succeed early in your career. How do you feel on that side?
Well, it's going to happen. I remember calling Ryan Perilou. If you're a football nerd, he's a big name from the South. And Ryan was the same class as Mark Sanchez, #1 kid in America. He said, "Yo, I could see him now on our Zoom interview." He goes, I was laying on the grass on my farm in Louisiana. I got a call and they said, "You're the best player in the world." My whole life changed. His whole life changed. He didn't ask for it. I remember talking to Kyle Allen, who's now currently in the NFL. And on his Twitter bio, we were in the Chicago Elite 11 Regional. It said 5-star pro-style quarterback. We brought him over and said, "Hey, Kyle, like, why do you got that?" And he's like, "I don't even know. I just kind of put it up there. I figured I should." And we're like, "Well, if that's what you want to be known as, somebody else's definition, then go for it." And it was really a cool moment for him. Like within an hour after practice, it was totally changed and it was whatever he wanted it to become. And I think all these guys, and what we learned in the book is not one player I've yet to meet is like, "I want to make me the 5-star guy."
Right.
And they all think it's cool, but somebody else labels them with that expectation. You've lived with that your whole life. Everyone in the world has labeled you. I don't know how you would label yourself, but I know that people have said T.O. is this or T.O. is that. How many times have you heard that? Right. And I think that players feel that a lot and then go one of two ways. Either live up to that other person's expectations, and then if they get there, they're really not fulfilled. Or they're like, "Screw that, I'm gonna go prove them wrong."
Right.
And there's a white space that we're missing, which is like, man, like what makes me happy?
Right.
Playing, competing, and not shutting down the rest of the world, because you need to embrace it. You need to embrace the NIL. You need to make money when you can, but having a thoughtful dialogue within your own self. And part of that is your point of like, it's not going to go perfect.
Right.
Because I'm with you. Because what do we see now? We see the freshman who doesn't become the starter dip. I'm gone.
Like for what?
Versus
for 6 months.
I'm gonna grow. I'm gonna grow. Like, and I get some are bad fits, but nothing in life is perfect.
Especially
Marriage
so
isn't
early.
perfect.
Yeah.
Parenting isn't like as you go. Business isn't. This podcast, it's been kicking ass for a couple years. It probably hasn't been perfect every single day.
No, it's horrible.
But you
with
didn't
him,
run.
actually.
Yeah, you didn't run from him. You stayed in it.
Run from you, chump.
I mean, that's why I'm late. I
Yeah, I
dread
heard about
coming in here. I'm late because I'm like, yo, I really got to go
don't
sit
listen
in
to
here
that,
for
dog.
a
Don't
couple
listen to
hours
that.
with this dude.
This guy.
But you're right. You're exactly right. There's a great phrase that I'll steal from Mike Gervais where he said, at the core of optimism is resilience. That's positive psychology if you go back to that study, right? Psychology is often, we would walk into a therapist's room and it used to be, "What's wrong with you? Let's fix it." And now in at least sports psychology is like, "How did you do that?"
Yes.
Like, let's find out how you can replicate or elevate.
Yes.
And I think in positive psychology, the whole idea is like, how can we create and recreate moments of resiliency? So then I do it with my 8-year-old. I'll take him to a climbing wall and be like, "All right, you're gonna fall, you're gonna fall." And I'm like hearing him, what's he saying to himself? "You got this, one more step, you got this." And you're training, same thing as a quarterback. I'm not the starter, I'm not gonna dip, I got this. Wait till you see me next spring, after this off season, whatever it may be. And you're creating this resiliency within you versus I'm out, I'm getting effed, this coach hates me, the quarterback room is against me, I'm going to the next place. And then you get on your 3rd or 4th school. We've seen that happen with guys.
Yes.
And then what happens when it's all said and done because 5 years flies by?
You done wasted, You've been transferring.
Theo, it's even worse. It's wasted, and then they're dramatically depressed. And that's the scariest part about all this. And I've said this many times, and I write about in the book of, in recruiting, we put all these players on these pedestals. And when we were playing, if you were on that pedestal, or if I was on that pedestal, or if Fitz was on the pedestal, if we fell off it, we fell from maybe 1-2-story building.
Right.
Now, because all these media companies are looking at it and be like, "Well, let me film your commitment video.
Yes.
Let me see if we can get 5 million views on this." And they do. Now you're on the 30th floor. And when you fall, which you will, I hate to say it, but we've seen 5 athletes this year die by suicide in college athletics.
Wow.
Like, to cut through the bullshit, like, that's a real thing.
Wow.
Mental health and wellness. I was just at SC, did a whole panel with multiple athletes, multiple sports in front of 100 student athletes.
Wow.
Mental health and wellness is a real thing.
Right.
Well, as we continue to grow expectations and awareness and attention, if we're ignoring the fact that it's hard to deal with that, then we're just ignorant.
Yeah. This is how I think social media is, right? If they think it's TV.
Yeah.
So if you're 12 and you see yourself on TV, what do you think? I made
Sweet.
it.
Yeah.
You haven't made it. How do you feel about the YouTube channel for the younger athletes and them being all the time on social? Because I don't think it helps the athlete, because I think they're just too young to understand that.
Well, before you answer, I think a lot of, like, when we talking about the YouTube, like, most of the time they're watching highlights.
Well, of themselves, though. That's what I don't like it. Like, I don't want you to watch yourself on TV and think this is what it's about. You haven't made it yet.
Okay.
And that's the whole, they're saying, well, my mom recorded me. She puts it up. Now I'm on YouTube. And I go home and I go to a TV like this and I put it on YouTube. In their mind, they think I'm T.O.
They're on ESPN.
I'm on ESPN. Yeah. Your mom filmed that.
Yeah.
You're not on ESPN. And if you're 12 and you get to be 20, then you've been watching yourself on TV for 8 years. You're kind of like, I'm cool. I'm sick of it already. Like, I want you to be hungry to be on ESPN, to be on a Saturday night game on ABC, at Clemson or at Penn State. Like, that's what I want you to think that's what it's about. Not about you're in the backyard on grass and then you're on TV.
Yeah, I have I keep using the same word, but like, let's say emotional intelligence would be loosely defined as having the capacity to deal with your thoughts and the thoughts of others with empathy. I say that because with this generation in recruiting, like, we have to like compete to be super empathetic to that, because there's this world where you can be 11 years old. There's a kid named Blaze something who just got offered a couple weeks ago by FAU, school in Florida. I can't remember which one. And I saw it first, and I was like, oh no, this happened. And I know coaches that have offered like 12-year-olds before, and they do it for the notoriety of their program.
Right.
They cut right through all the noise and media, and all of a sudden they're on First Take or whatever the show may be, and people are talking about them.
Yep.
And then I went to that individual's social channels, and I was like, wow, this 11-year-old has like
Everywhere.
500,000 followers. He's everywhere. And I sat there and I'm like, well, the coaching staff that just offered him definitely won't be at that school by the time he's out.
Right.
That 100%, I would bet a paycheck
now.
on that.
Absolutely.
But number two, like, to your point, like, how is it benefiting him? It may be benefiting him in the NIL world. If he lives and resides in a state where you can do that. Now, I don't know what the rules are around 11-year-olds. I know they are in high school in California. You can make money off yourself. So there's like a business there to a degree. And I get all that.
Right.
Like, you might change the life of your family. You might get out of wherever you may be living to a better situation. But again, to your point, if we look down the road a little further, is it really that beneficial? Maybe. And if it is, how are we policing it? And I go back to the first thing we said, which is, what is the intention? If the intention is to grow this brand, okay, then be about the brand. If that's where you want to go. But if your intention is to play on a Saturday night in Autzen, on a Saturday night at Washington in front of a sold-out Husky Stadium, and go to New York for the Heisman because you're one of the best players in America, this isn't going to get you there.
That's not going to get
It's
you
just
there.
not. I've voted for the Heisman for a decade.
Right.
It's never based on your YouTube channel. I promise you that. So again, I would like, how do we compete with like great empathy? Right? Like, why do you want to have this YouTube channel, man? You want to remember where you're from? Do you want to watch it every day? Like, let's just get to the truth of it. Do you think it's super cool to watch yourself? Okay, let's police it a little bit. And I think to have that dialogue is really important, because you're right. By 20, and I've done this where I've interviewed players and they could care less. They're like, I've been on TV on my own IG for 6 years. I'm like, bro, but you don't understand media. I'm here to help tell your story.
Yeah.
And you can't do it by yourself all the time. If you want, I ask athletes this every summer at Elite 11, how many want to win the Heisman? They all raise their hand. I said, who votes for it? They have no clue. And I say, the media votes for it.
Right.
So you all want to pout because we're asking you to go meet with 50 members of 24/7 recruiting sites, whatever. But all those guys have Heisman votes. So begin your narrative now and help them pen it by sharing who and what you're about versus look at me, eat with my boy. Like, it's just a total different intention.
Yep, I agree.
Right, but I mean, even with that you just mentioned, like, they can meet and talk to these guys, kind of set themselves up for, with their performance. They got to add the performance to.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Because you
got to back it up.
Right. I mean, you can. I mean, those kids. One of those kids may be, or a number of them could be good salesmen.
Well, that's the worst part of it, T.O.
To the media, but then you got to back that up with your performance. Like, you can be that all day. You're like, you talk my ears off, impress me, your resume, but that performance has to back that up.
Yeah, and that's what is scary for me around where we are. Like, you referenced your nephew. Like, what if it doesn't work out like he thinks it will? You know, and now this, again, you're on the proverbial 10th, 11th floor. Like, I see the Holinski Hope wristband you have on. Like, you're clearly connected to that family and on a bunch of levels. And the work they've done is fascinating in locker rooms around the country. We've seen that from a bunch of family. Katie Meyer's family, Stanford soccer player who committed suicide earlier this year.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, like, I just think that, like, we're looking down the line. We're helping out your future. We have to be connected to the moment. And that is a tough dance to dance with. So again, to the parent, what is the intention? I remember at Elite 11 years ago, we were there. I don't want to say the player's name, but you'll know who it is. And he had a tattoo on his arm, and it had an NFL logo on it. And I went up and I was doing a piece on his mom who had just beaten cancer. And I went up to his mom and I was doing this heartfelt moment in this documentary we were producing. And at the end, we were kind of finishing up our interview, and she goes, "My baby's going to get me to the league." And I remember saying, like, he might get himself to the league.
Right.
And it was like a tough thing because I knew he wasn't that
guy.
type of guy. He wasn't Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
There's only a handful of those guys that
Right.
you've been there, where you're like, yeah, he's going.
Yeah.
And he probably isn't.
Right.
And I felt my heart broke so bad because the intention was he's going to get me up out of here and we're going to
Whole
go
family.
achieve this dream. And I'm like, I wonder how happy he is. And he might be as happy as a clam. I don't know.
Hopefully he is, right.
But again, looking to the future, connected to the moment. And that is hard as hell. You can't probably do it alone. So is your community on the same page? And when you don't have somebody on that, they got to go.
I think what I'm hearing you talk about, what we want to do is we want to help the kid because, like I said, when you talk about the mental health thing, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things there's a number of deciding factors as to why a kid may go left, why they down spiral, or whatever the case may be. And part of it could be living up to that classification of those stars.
It is 100%. That's the foundational building
Right.
block of the book.
Right.
Period. End of story. You look at the website 24/7, and mad respect to them. I do a lot of work with those guys. They released a new ranking system this year where they're going to have 32 players be 5-star recruits.
Yep.
In history, you don't have that many guys that are 5-star guys because they're not franchise-changing players, but they wanted to mirror the NFL. Okay, what 32 players do we think are going to go change,
First
be the
rounders,
face of a franchise, be a first rounder? And I look at that and I say, oh, that is terrible for
Yes.
the mental health of a player to be told at 17, you're going to be the face of a franchise and change it, or take it away from you. You're no longer going to be that. You went from 5 to 4 because this weekend's workout was really bad, and I don't know that you failed an exam. Your parents split up. Like we don't know.
Tons of other stuff.
So I'm with you. But the problem is, and the first page of the book says it's a billion-dollar recruiting industry.
What are the classifications? What is the makeup of to declare or classify you as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? What is the makeup to determine what star of an athlete you are?
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Yeah, so 0, 1, 2, take it off the board. Doesn't really matter. They
Right,
don't even
exactly. So
get
it's
that.
either, I've even heard 3,
So
4,
3
5.
is like
4,
you can
5.
play, I believe it's like group of 5 college football. Like you're not like a Power 5 starter, but like you can play college football. You can go play San Jose State, UNLV, some of those places. 4 is like you're going to be an impact player,
So 4 or
high
5.
impact player.
So
and 5 is a franchise. You're the face of a franchise. You're going to change your franchise.
That's why
So
it's
you
so
check.
tough.
Okay, I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just really hard for those players because they see everything now.
that's
In our
so-
era, we probably wouldn't even, maybe we would have known, but we weren't reading the
didn't
one.
know.
But that's so
recruiting
crazy
website.
to your point. Like to say you're gonna change the face of a franchise.
At 17.
Dog, that's some lofty expectations.
Yes.
You 4 and 5, and to think, okay, but if you think about your book, like how many has actually done that?
So there's 5 guys that I saw at Elite 11, which again, the premier quarterback camp. I'd be curious if you'd agree with me, that I were like, these guys will do it. Jameis was the first one. Jameis Winston. I was like, he has all the things.
tools.
He's going to be a freak. Tua. Because I never saw anybody connect to people from such varying degrees of backgrounds than him.
Hands down, I knew Tua. When I saw him for the first time, dude, nobody didn't even know. I went down because I go down to Alabama and I work out, train with him. And I went to go work out, and I was there for a camp. I had my nephews there. And they wanted me to work, Calvin Ridley, Cam Sim, all the guys are like, man, let's work out, And I'm like, I don't have any clothes, I ain't got nothing, I didn't bring anything. Trust me, they found me some stuff to work out. And then so they tried to get Jalen. Jalen was nowhere to be found. They was like, we got Tua. And I was like, what? It's like, we got this guy Tua coming in. It's like, he's from Hawaii. It's like, bro, true freshman. It's like, yo, he probably would be starting right now as a true freshman if Jalen wasn't. I'm like, what? Bro, worked out about an hour and a half for this dude. Bro, he didn't miss a throw. One throw he threw, it was a little behind. It was a bang 8. And I came out of it was a little behind. when you talk about head and shoulders above what I've ever seen, I went back to him and I said, Tua, I said, bro, I said, when I come out my fourth outside step, I said, I shouldn't even see you throw the ball. I said, that ball should be at least halfway there. As soon as I hit my fourth outside step, it should be in my hand. That was the only correction I had with him. Bro, I've never seen anybody at a true freshman throw the ball like that in my entire life. Fast forward to the season, I was watching them. I was telling some guys, I was like, bro, I said, they got a freshman on their team. I was like, bro, he is.
We were saying that for 2 years.
The it factor. I was like, bro, this dude is the truth. I was like, bro, no way. They was like, man, do you see how Jalen is playing? Like, bro, ain't no way. Ain't nobody coming playing. Sure enough, we know what has transpired. But to your point, bro.
Tua, you knew it.
Would have believed it.
Yep, that was another
Fields
one. Justin Fields got so hot.
He was he was so studious. Like, I always kind of creep behind him. How are they studying? How are they taking notes? How are they observing? How are they seeking? You could tell. And he was such a freaky multiple sport athlete. This is a guy who's baseball, basketball, football, he did it all. Trevor Lawrence, that was a no-brainer. And then Caleb Williams. Every other guy, you're like, I don't know. Maybe.
You hope,
Could be. I hope so. Be amazing.
So,
here's a list of the 12 guys drafted in the top 10 in the history of five-star quarterback rankings. Vince Young, freak. Stafford, freak. Sanchez, freaky arm. Cam Newton,
I already know.
Blaine Gabbert, powerhouse arm coming out. Jameis. Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Probably best athlete to ever play high school football in the history of the game. Rosen,
Josh,
Tua, and Trevor.
Wow.
12 out of the 134, now 137, were ever drafted in the top 10.
Wow.
And they all have, like, I'd say every one of those guys has a unique trait.
Very unique. Outside the box trait.
Yeah, there you go. There's your line. Yeah, outside the box.
Wow. Let everybody know where they can find your book.
Yeah, just check it out on Amazon.
You can find it right here.
Yeah, right here.
Can't have ours,
There's
though.
one.
Can't have ours.
Well, we got to meet together to read that book because
We read it to each other. Commercial. It's a little
I'm going to have
advertisement.
to read it to him because he can't read.
Oh,
for sure.
yeah. There you go.
wow.
Let everybody know where they can
That's what
find
we
you on
doing?
social media as well.
I'm easy. Just at Yogi Roth. I'm calling Pac-12 games all fall. I love it. I love the craft and being able to write this, and I'll talk about it with you, man. I mean, it was Trevor's year where we sat down at lunch and talked about it, your future and your desire to do stuff like this, and you are just killing it, and I'm just so happy for you.
Thank you, brother. I wouldn't be here without him. Trust me, he's the one that said the word podcast to me. I was like, hey, ding, ding, ding. Hit T, and here we are 4 or 5 years later, man. It's awesome. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you.
5-star.
5-star QB,
book,
Yogi Roth in the building. Get your popcorn ready. See you next week. Peace.